Hello, listeners. I haven't actually recorded in a couple of weeks now. You can tell I'm ADHD because, trying to do something every week, it doesn't quite work very well. I try to, but we all get these weeks where the reason I've called this episode is motivation such an aggravation. Those who know me know I like my rock and punk music, and that's actually a line from a Sum 41 song called Motivation. And I thought back on the lyrics the other week and thought, oh, actually, that song pretty much describes how I would be feeling. So I went back and looked at all the lyrics, and literally it just describes somebody who is ADHD, that how they feel, how they act, what the motivation feels like. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. That really fit quite very well. And that's fit in with me this past couple of weeks. I haven't had the motivation to record. I think I jumped back into, do I really bother doing it? Are people listening? And then by the end of it, I've gone, actually, do you know what? It doesn't matter if nobody's listening. I don't care. If people listen, great. If not, I'm happy to just talk to myself. Because as I said in the beginning, I'm kind of doing this like a journal. So it might not be interesting to some people. It might be interesting to some people. So this week, I just wanted to touch on what ways can we motivate ourselves when we're struggling. For me, it's really dependent on how I'm feeling. I do struggle with regular headaches and migraines, which do really take it out of you. I can actually feel one coming on now, which means that I need to go and take some more painkillers ready to kill it for the rest of the day. Otherwise, if I leave it to go on too long, then it ends up ruining the rest of today. I won't be able to concentrate, which then has a knock-on effect for tomorrow. And I'm meant to be at fitness training, my weight training tomorrow. And if I don't feel right for that, I'll be terrible at it. I won't get it done, and I'll bail. And I don't really want to bail. I bailed last week because I had a migraine, and I feel quite bad for it. But it's like scary going back as well. Yeah, there's just too many emotions going on. So I decided over the weekend on Friday, after having the migraine, I took the strong painkillers, and I was flying a bit. I was flying high, and I sat and I was like, well, I kind of have really wanted to get back and ground myself a bit more recently. So I took some advice from a friend who does Reiki, Nick, from Trinity Reiki. And I've booked in with her for next week to have a session. And I thought, well, what else can I do to sort of help get me ready for the Reiki appointment, for not... I don't know if it's more for a motivation tactic, but it more for clearing my mind and making myself not feel responsible for these headaches. I can't help them. It's just something that I've had since COVID that have gotten worse. So it's probably long COVID, but the doctors will never actually describe it as that. They don't like to describe it as that, but they've said that probably is what it is in terms of the catalyst. So it's something I'm going to have to live with. And so I need to find a way of managing it without being completely high off my rocker most of the time. So this week I thought, okay, I'm going to turn back to what I used to do. And I used to sort of have incense, and I used to try and relax. And I used to have crystals all around me. I used to wear crystals all the time. And I still have crystal earrings and things, and very drawn to certain colours and certain stones. So I thought, all right, let's go back to that. Let's go back to how I was before. And just sort of maybe connect a little bit more with feeling and holding crystals and keeping them nearby. So I've had one under my pillow for the last 2 nights, and those last 2 nights I've slept fine, and I've woken up with no headache, which recently I've been waking up with headaches. I've bought some crystals that I resonate with in terms of how the energy that comes off them. It was a full moon last night, so I charged them. It all sounds a bit woo-woo, and I'm not usually that woo-woo that I would go about, putting them in the moonlight to charge their energy. That's normally like one step too far for me. But I thought, no, let's embrace it. And I've been reading Lisa Johnson's series, email series that she does, like the Woo Woo Diaries, that she's been going through something similar. And I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to go back and reconnect with what I used to do, but maybe with a little bit more grounding, ground myself back down and meditate to try and sort of clear my mind, work around the headaches. And it's not gone too badly, as I said. Feel a little bit silly sometimes, but you've kind of got to do something. And even if it's a good distraction, obviously being ADHD means I hyper focus into a hobby and I go completely all out and spend lots of money on it. So I did actually spend a fair bit of money on Friday night while I was high, but actually, I'm really pleased with what I've got. I've got some pretty little things, some beautiful crystals, and I've already been. It's always been making me feel a bit better to see these little trinkets around that I can look at and hold and feel, and maybe like de-stress, because I like to feel certain textures that. And once I feel a certain texture, if it resonates with me, it's like, oh, that's actually quite calming, that's quite nice, and I'll just sit there and do it. So I do it with rings, and I do it with stones, and I'll rub them, and sort of I'll get to a point where it's sort of quite sensitive, and actually it really does sort of spark with me. So another thing I like is water. So I will happily just put my head into some nice slowly pouring water, and I'll just stay there, and it's lovely. I do that at a spa, and it really highlights and heightens the senses, I think, or it does for me, and different for everybody. So I'm going to do a quick one today, just because I'm actually I've actually got some energy today. I've already had a couple of meetings. I've had some great new clients come on board, some new projects, and some really interesting possibly app development. So I'm going to be looking into developing a couple of my own apps to connect systems together that don't currently exist very easily, which is a new segment for me. I love doing coding. It's just not something I've done is the app development bit before. So I am starting to see that side of things. And since I've relaxed the way I do business, so I'm not so uptight about what people think of me or what I charge, because I used to be very aware, like, oh my God, what people going to think that I charge this much. And then I was like, well, actually, I've had people come to me because of my skill set and that I know more than most others on these subjects. And I thought, well, there's a reason, isn't there? There's a reason I charge that, and it's because I spend a lot of time learning, researching, scoping new projects, scoping different ways and alternative ways of doing things, and finding the route that most people don't take. And I've learned that is where my superpower is. That's where my energy is, and so I'm just following that. And actually, because of that, the universe is sending me the right people that I want to work with, which is great. So I'm going to sign off because I have a meeting with a potential new client next, and I'm going to put it in my diary to next week actually do a podcast again following 1 week, and we're going to try and do it every week. We'll see how that goes. Let me know what you guys do for motivation. Any tips and tricks, I'm happy to try it. So we'll see how we go. Oh, and I have quit the booze for now as well. So hopefully that will help in my motivation. Have a great week, everybody.